everything that's going on, especially post-US election, with all the conversations that's taking place online, I know that many of you are asking the really big questions, the deeper questions now. And you might be wondering, is now time to really put change on deck, put it in your plans? Some of us come from families that were already part of the quote unquote big migrations, right? Maybe you're from a family that migrated from the South and North. I know that's the case for my family. And nowadays, when we're talking about migrating again, we're talking about migrating outside of the US. Okay. And it's not something new. It's something that's been happening, and it's been happening with more frequency. And I know, again, the conversations are happening. So I thought about myself when I first started on this journey, all the questions and concerns um that I had. And I know that there's a lot of resources out there now that you can gather information from. But I also know that sometimes those resources don't speak directly to the varying concerns that we have. So in today's video, we're going to talk about 15 countries that you can actually fly to tomorrow. Don't have to apply for a visa or anything. You can just go there tomorrow. And if you decide to stay beyond the non-visa period, so let's just go with 90 days, because US citizens can typically go to a lot of countries for 90 days visa free. So let's just use that as a benchmark, okay? Not saying that there are some countries that you may can stay longer, not looking at some of the countries that you may have to do like an electronic visa prior to going. The majority you can just fly to tomorrow and stay for 90 days. And should you decide to stay beyond that 90 days, these are countries that you can apply for the visa while there. Okay. That's what we're going to look at. And it's 15 countries is telling you off the top that it's not an exhaustive list, because I wanted to touch on a few different continents. All right. I didn't want to approach this conversation from the standpoint of just looking for countries with easy visas. I didn't want to just look at, countries with the lowest cost of living. There's a lot of factors that go into play when you're talking about moving outside of your home country. And each of you, while there may be some common ground with the things that we're looking for, there's gonna be some differences. So in no way can this video be exhaustive, can be all inclusive. So with that said, I do invite you into the RYL Abroad community. And that's where we will be delving into how to make this happen, and giving you resources and forming community for those who are serious about migrating, moving abroad. Okay. All right. Oh, and by the way, my name is Arnitha Webb, global lifestyle strategist and founder of RYL Abroad. And I am actually going to have to refer to some notes during this video. So if you see me, my eyes moving to other parts of the screen, it's not to be rude or anything of that nature. It's because I want to get some of the data that I'm going to relay to you. I want to relay it accurately. Uh, as you can imagine, the 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 space of immigration is and visas, and if you will, and tourism and all this kind of stuff is always active. Countries are always making changes. And so before I decided, and I just decided to do this video like within the last 8 hours or so, I said, let me try to make sure I got some up-to-date information about these countries. Okay. So I'm going to start out with Portugal. Okay, Portugal is a hot spot. It's a hot spot for Americans. It's a hot spot for Black Americans. This is a country that is considered to have the easiest visa application process of all the European countries. Okay. Close to 365 days of sunshine per year, a very diverse community, a lot of Brazilians there, a lot of American Black expats there. I think it's going to be a country that if you were to choose it, it would be easy to find community and to create community there. We have seen a lot of rental prices go up with the short-term rentals and the Airbnbs and such. And even though last year Portugal, tried to get a handle on some things, it actually paused its golden visa for a while. And it recently introduced a brand new digital nomad visa that's probably just a few weeks old. But let me not get too ahead of myself. Let me give you some information on Portugal. So I wanted to hit concerns that I know would be of importance to you. If you decided right now, today, to buy a ticket to Portugal, you can anticipate, depending on what area you go to, I'm going to say right off the bat, this is not going to be Lisbon, but your monthly expenses you can anticipate to be around $1,000 a month if you're living on the outside of the major cities being Lisbon and Porto. Okay. You can definitely find living accommodations and have monthly expenses relatively low. So that said, let's just say, you could just go there for a breather, go there for 3 months or so on like a $3,000 budget, and you'll be okay. I just mentioned that they just introduced a couple of weeks ago the D8 visa. So the D8 visa is its digital nomad visa. I do have a earlier video where I talk exclusively about the D8 visa. I invite you to watch that video. And for further conversation, come over into the community so we can talk further into it about that visa. But the D7 is the one that's always been in place. And why is this visa and why is Portugal uh, considered one of the easiest European countries? It's also because the cost of the visa itself is relatively low, around $200 just to apply for it. But the annual income that you have to demonstrate for a D7 visa is around 9,000. For the digital nomad visa is 24,000. Again, I did a video about the digital nomad visa, but here's a key takeaway that you got to know. Okay. A digital nomad visa is created for working people. So typically the salary or income that you have to demonstrate for a digital nomad visa is going to be slightly higher than some of the other visas of that country, be it Portugal or otherwise. Okay. So the difference, you see D7 under $10,000 a month in income. Okay, so if you're on Social Security and you have a monthly Social Security, Portugal could be a country for you. Um, but digital nomad, you're proving that you are working for a company that's outside of Portugal, and you have at least 24K in annual income. Um, Now, again, I already mentioned that expat community is very, very strong there. Um, and Portugal also gives, from what I understand, and I don't know this firsthand, and we do have a tax expert for the RYL abroad community, but it supposedly offers some really good tax breaks for U.S. citizens. I can't speak to if that's in a positive or a negative. We do know that here in the United States, our tax situation is getting ready to change. So if you're not finding yourself in that really top 2% bracket, uh, taxes are going to be really heavily impacted for a lot of us. We already know that we're going to lose a lot of the deductions that we are accustomed to taking, probably around could be as soon as 2025, but certainly 2026. But let's keep it moving, and we're going to stay on the continent of Europe, okay? So the next country I'm going to mention is one that you'll hear me talk about a lot, is Spain. And Spain, you have a massive amount of choices. You can get on a plane tomorrow, go to Spain, be there for 90 days, visa free. And if you want to apply for their digital nomad visa, you can do it while you're right there in Spain. Now, I happen to know that if you apply for Spain's visa before you leave, you will get approved. Oh, I hope I don't misquote this. I believe you're approved for a year and then you go to renew it. But if you apply for the digital nomad visa while you're in Spain, you get approved off the top for 3 years. Okay. I happen to know that there's plenty of places, plenty of locations. Um, outside of the major cities of Barcelona and Madrid that you can live and have a wonderful time there. Monthly expenses being you can outside of Madrid and Barcelona, you can plan for around 1,200 a month, food and expenses and such. Okay. Inside of Barcelona is the major city that I can speak to. Um, my rent there was 1,400 euro at the time, and actually that apartment is still going for the same amount, which is incredible, absolutely incredible. Um, but the cost of food, they have seen an uptick since COVID. I even saw it even in Granada, I saw an uptick in the food prices. So you just got to know where to shop. Shop, with the locals and not where they're catering to the expat community. Don't go to the American stores because everything's sky high there. Okay. But Spain does have digital nomad, non-lucrative visas and golden visas. We're not going to talk about golden visas on this video though. What's a good takeaway? I think that relatively in comparison um, to forming community, that will have a lot to do with what area of Spain you go to. In the more rural areas, uh, that are more, families and generations there, you know, I think it just depends on where you are. It's a huge country with a lot of cities. A lot of it has places in Spain have a nice combination of urban and rural, mountain and beach. It coexists. All of this. It's a wonderful dichotomy of coexistence there. Okay. Um, let's stay let's stay on the continent of Europe and let's look at Cyprus because Cyprus has been coming up on the radar. Cost of living around the same as Portugal, around $1,000 a month, offering this, digital nomad and retirement visas as well. Now, for the digital nomad visa in Cyprus, they're going to want to see around $3,000 a month. Let me back up for a second because I don't think I said this with the non-lucrative visa for Spain versus the digital nomad visa for Spain. And I think I have another video that really delves into this. But for Spain, the non-lucrative visa is going to want more in the area of your savings than your monthly income. You can do probably a $2,500 range on monthly income, $2,000 range on monthly income, but they're going to want to see a good 30 to 40,000 in savings for that non-lucrative visa versus the digital nomad visa. Okay, where they want the higher monthly income. Always remember digital nomad is for the working person, so they want the higher monthly income. Okay, let's just say that blanketly going forward. Now back to Cyprus. Cyprus is going to want to see a $3,000 monthly, okay, for their digital nomad visa versus their retirement visa, which is only going to look for around 2K monthly. Okay, you're still on the Mediterranean, so you still have great weather. In Cyprus, as I understand it, because I haven't been there, it was on my radar 2 years ago for some to go look at property investments, but I didn't make it there. So I believe it's still on my list to go do research for property investments. And Should I do that? I'll be passing all that information along inside RYL Abroad. Okay, but Cyprus is still on the Mediterranean, so we're still in warm weather. So, um, if that's what you prefer, then all three places that I've started with here could be for you. Let's move to Estonia. Now we're moving away from the Mediterranean. Cost is going to be a little bit higher. If you want to go there and stay for around 90 days, I would say plan your budget definitely higher, probably around 4,500 for the full 3 months, so around 1,500 a month. They're great for startups. I don't know if you're familiar with the company Mind Valley, but Mind Valley is there. Okay. Yeah. So, but they have digital nomad visas. They have a startup visa. Digital nomad visa is going to want to see that you have at least $3,500 a month in income. Yes, the winters are cold. We're not on the Mediterranean anymore, but very, very, very robust expat communities. And Estonia has been and continues to be one of the top places in terms of having a digital infrastructure and really catering um, to digital nomads and working from anywhere, and the whole digital infrastructure. It's been top in that area for quite a while now. We're going to do one more, just one more for Europe. Not to say that there's not more countries that we could talk about, but I want to move on to some other continents. Let's do our last country. Another country that's dear to me is Austria. Now, Austria, let's go there. Let's go there with a little bit more money. Um, around 2,000 a month. What would that be? Around 6K budget for 3 months. And I did 3 months just last year in Vienna. And I would say with my rent did not exceed 1,400. But with food and everything, I I would say safely kept it under like 2,100 a month for sure. Um, they do have clear paths to not bad paths to staying there, because I kind of toy with the idea myself from time to time, but what stops me is, do I want the winters? I mean, even though it's beautiful, oh my God, I love this city. Austria is one of the peaceful nations, and I would really say that you feel it. They have this thing there called red, white, red card. Okay. And with that, they're going to be looking for like a 2,500 monthly income. Winters are cold, but I got to tell you, I got to say this because I'm the type of person that likes to visit winter. I don't want to live in it. I just want to visit it and then I want to leave, right? Because I love sunshine. I did my 3 month stay there in the wintertime, and in the wintertime, they have high sun, which was amazing. I went out so much, and you would have thought I really hibernated a lot, but I didn't. It was lovely. It was really, really lovely. If I was going to move to a country that had some kind of, like real winters, Austria is definitely the country that I would consider, and I could do. Okay. Alrighty. Let's keep it moving. Um, all of the countries that I just mentioned for Europe, let me put some emphasis on the fact that these are countries that are high on the tolerance index. These are countries that, as Black people, we can go and feel comfortable in. These are countries that single women can go and feel comfortable in, that will feel safe and have laws that will protect us. I mean, anything can happen anywhere. So I'm not trying to paint them like paradise, because anything can happen anywhere. But keep in mind that when I talk about countries, I'm thinking about people of color. I'm thinking about Black people. I'm thinking about single women. I'm thinking about children. I'm thinking about families. I'm thinking about LGBTQ communities. I'm thinking about people with disabilities. Okay. Spain is, I know, in the top three. Barcelona, let me say that, not all of Spain. Barcelona is a super inclusive city in all of those categories. Okay, so um, as a just knowing me and the kind of things that I look at when I talk about helping people find their home outside of the US, we're looking at all of these things. I am always thinking of these things top of mind, okay? Because we are tired of America's perception of things um that contradicts its realities. I'll put it like that, okay? And then let's keep it moving. Let's go to Africa and let's look at Africa, okay? For Africa, I am going to start with I'm going to start with Ghana, okay? And I am hoping to have um, someone, a Ghanaian, come into the community and really speak to us about what it offers to especially African Americans. Okay, so if you're in the community, if you're not in the community, come over to the community because I expect that to take place in the near weeks, coming weeks. Okay, but I'm going to start with Ghana because Ghana has a very easy pathway for us to go there and live. Average monthly income I have here at $700 per month, so around $2,100 if you just want to go there for a quarter, go there for 3 months and see how it is. Um, Weather, tropical, warm. Hey, it's Ghana, right? Year of return, all right? So it's a lot of encouragement for African Americans to go check Ghana out, okay? Let's stay on the continent of Africa and talk about Kenya. Kenya has been a country that I'm heavily researching. It was on my travel list last year, and I got sidetracked coming back and forth to the US a bit much. Um, but Kenya is super attractive. So we're looking at around $1,000 a month. So expect $3,000 to go there for a cup, for about 3 months. A lot of visa options. You're gonna find a lot of visa options, especially geared towards African Americans to return to the motherland. Okay. Um, I think the biggest surprise from what I've heard from a lot of my friends and a lot of people who I'm associated with, who have already made the move abroad, is they're surprised, depending on where you pick in Africa, they're surprised at how progressive it is. Whatever they thought they had to erase from their minds. Because it was quite different. I would say um, that the thing I'm always in awe of is in America, we speak predominantly one language, and it's so utterly impressive when you go outside of the US in general. But from what I understand, in most of the countries in Africa where people are not speaking two languages, they're speaking four. They're speaking the tribal language, they're speaking French, they're speaking English. That's three already. Okay. I just find I'm just in utter awe of that. I truly am. Okay. We put Ghana and Kenya on the list for Africa. Um, Many of you who are doing research for Africa, I would not. be surprised if you were also looking at South Africa. Now, South Africa would little less in terms of monthly expense, maybe around $800 a month. Okay. Um, and a lot of options there as well. Um, I was recently looking at the healthcare system. So I have questions about the permanent residency visas and how it applies to the benefits of a person who's getting a permanent residency visa. Are they able to tap into the hospital systems? Um, in these countries, in the African countries, because I know that that's the case in the European countries. But that is a question that we have to answer. Okay, that just came to mind. All righty. So, for Europe, we did Portugal, Spain, Cyprus, Estonia, Austria. Africa, we did South Africa, Ghana, Kenya. Let's move on to Asia. Okay. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Vietnam. Vietnam, right? Because, honey, Vietnam and Thailand, I almost want to talk about them at the same time, because the first thing that is going to come out is low cost of living, low cost of living, low cost of living. Your US dollar is going to go further in the Asian countries than in the European countries. Okay. For sure. US dollar will go far in Africa though. So Africa and Asia, this is where our US dollar is gonna really be, is gonna work for us. So if I'm looking at Vietnam or Thailand, I'm looking at $500 a month doing a lot for me, putting me in a great place to live and eating well and living well, okay, in both of those countries. That's why I said I could talk about both of those easily at the same time. I probably could throw Bali in there and it's going to be similar, give or take $100 or so. In all of Bali, Vietnam, and Thailand, okay, all three of them, your US dollar, you know, just say cap it between $500 and $600 a month. Okay. So under 2,000 to go there just for 3 months if you want to. And and take a break from the madness here. All righty. Now, when it comes to your visa applications, you're going to find some stark differences though in each of these countries, right? So for example, in Thailand, you are going to be looking at maybe showing a $1,500 income. And, whereas in Bali, it may be a little bit higher for their visa. Here's going to be a stark difference in these countries. In these countries, they're also going to ask for a bank deposit. Okay. Now, that bank deposit, it's not like they're asking for, $100,000 or $250,000, but you do have to have that, possibly $20,000, $50,000 to put into their local bank. That is a stark difference when it comes to applying for a permanent visa. Okay. So be prepared for that. Whether we're back to the warmth, okay, in these countries, very, very, very rainy at times in their monsoon. Times of the year, very humid, very thick, very hot. Um, there has been there has been um people who say they loved it, but they didn't stay because of the weather, because that humidity and that heat was really too much. I think that we would be surprised though how, if we're in the cities of these places, how cosmopolitan they could be with the big malls and the high-end stores and what have you. But then you go, on the outskirts and it's just another world. Um these are there's a place for everybody. These are the places that I like to visit, not to live, because I just don't want to live in that real tropical jungle environment. It's not for me. But if it's for you, there are tons of Americans. These are all three of these Asian countries, high welcoming expat communities, in expat spaces and work from home. People in tech have been going to all three of these locations, okay, for decades. It's just that those of us who are new to work from it to the whole digital nomad and work from anywhere lifestyle are just now jumping on the bandwagon. But your hardcore techies have been living there forever and a day. Okay. Now, let's wrap this up talking about New Zealand and Australia. Let's talk about that part of the world. I'm going back to peaceful nation. New Zealand is also a peaceful nation. I'm gonna always, if that comes to mind, and I know it's a peaceful nation country, forgive me for always mentioning that, okay? And that's because we are a country of guns. Okay, the rest of the world is not. Okay, and the rest of the world takes a violent incident, a mass, anything that's on a mass level where someone inflicted harm and fatalities en masse. They take it so serious that they don't have to sit and send prayers and debate about it. They tend to do something about it because they don't want to see it happen again. Okay, period. Period. Not to say that there are no guns in these countries, but they're very responsible with their gun laws. Don't get me going, because when I travel, I talk to people and I ask questions and I talk to them about their process of being gun owners, and it makes us look like we are completely barbaric. Okay? Okay, I digress. Okay. New Zealand, we're looking at around $1,200 a month in living. Okay, so you're gonna need around 3,600 if you just want to go there for a quarter, 3 months and stay in Australia. I'm around 1,500. So expect to spend around 4,500. Um, for a stay, both offering, flexible visas, um, to stay a little longer. Okay. Um, the amount that you have to show in either of those two countries when you want to apply for a visa is pretty comparable to the European countries. Expect, 3,000, to show like 3,000 and above, and you'll be fine. Okay. Mild, rainy, warm, sunny, the climate of that world, of that part of the world. But both are on the list because they are very, very open to expats, okay? And the point of this entire discussion, I know this wasn't a completely, formal format that I went with here, but the point is, if you've been thinking about moving abroad, I want to challenge you to at least go to the country you are quote unquote thinking about. Spend 3 months there. Slow travel it. Slow travel it. Work from there. Spend some time there. You may find that it's not the place that you want to apply for a long-term visa. You may find you don't want to come back to the US at all. And these are countries that you can go ahead and apply for that visa while you're there. Secure the visa while you're there. Come back, take care of the house and your belongings after you have a visa in hand. Um, and I say it as a matter of, oh, it's as simple as that, because sometimes we tend to make things harder than what they really are. Okay. I know that I've said so many times that, I binge watch HGTV International, and you consistently hear people talk about how they sold everything and did this big move. And that is one path. That is one path. As a matter of fact, I will tell you, just for this video here, I'm actually using a background um that of the home that I actually sold. that I actually sold when I decided that I was going to live abroad. So, yes, that is one path. Okay. But it doesn't have to be your path. You can make your path to be whatever it is you need it to be for you. Okay. And that's what RYL Abroad is about. It's about helping you make the decision, but put your decisions in actions, okay, so that you can get on about living the life that you say you want to live, as opposed to, constantly just being in research and planning mode. Okay. So I just gave you 15 countries that you can go on to Google Flights today and buy a ticket. Go on to oh God, I would say Airbnb, but I would never promote Airbnb. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna make a video talking about Airbnb, but there's other resources. Come into RYL Abroad if you want to, talk resources and where we're going to get cheap tickets or where we're going to find where we're living. I like using local. I like using local realtors for my short-term rentals, quite honestly. I have had my best experiences using the local realtors of an area. Even if you have to put down a deposit, because sometimes people are trying to avoid putting down that deposit. I get it. I get it. But I got to tell you, I have never had an issue using a local realtor. I have always gotten my deposit back really, really fast. Um, and I've always had it where those places were exactly what they presented to be. Um, so my advice is to, and here's the thing too. You have different people view things being an expat different ways, right? I believe that when you're going to someone else's country, it's also good citizenship, good form to do business with them. Okay. As opposed to some other foreign investor who just has a place and has it listed on Airbnb just for investment purposes, and you're not even doing business with anyone from that community, from that country. I try to do business with someone from that country. I try to make connections, real connections wherever I go. And I would advise you to take that into consideration as well. Okay. But anyway, I'm going to hope to see each and every one of you who watches this video over in the RYL Abroad community. If we are on the precipice of another great migration, I am also hoping that we um, um, communicate and form community across these borders. Okay. We're not alone. You're not alone. You don't have to do this alone. Okay. Um, at all. Alrighty. So until next time, ciao. See you in the RYL Abroad community.